This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No.
Nope.
Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Good morning.
All right.
Morning, gentlemen. Good morning,
Be
America.
on AM radio with that.
No, I felt like Robin Williamson. Good morning, Vietnam. All right, welcome to DBL. We are glad you are here with us. Former First Lady Rosalynn Carter is being laid to rest today in her hometown of Plains, Georgia. And yesterday, there was a big tribute service in Atlanta with family and friends honoring her life of service. Former President Jimmy Carter, who is 99 years old, attended the service. He was wheeled in with a blanket covering him, featuring a picture of his late wife. Their daughter, Amy Carter, shared a letter her father wrote, get this, 75 years ago to his beloved wife. Take a look at that.
My darling, every time I have ever been away from you, I have been thrilled when I returned to discover just how wonderful you are. While I am away, I try to convince myself that you really are not, could not be, as sweet and beautiful as I remember. But when I see you, I fall in love with you all over again. Does that seem strange to you? It doesn't to me. Goodbye, darling. Until tomorrow. Jimmy.
Ugh. So what do you think of this incredible love story and, of course, of seeing Jimmy Carter again? He is in hospice, as you guys know, but he made the trip. And as my rabbi said, it's a famous quote, 99% of life is showing up. And for him to be there meant an awful lot to say goodbye to his wife. What do you think, Al?
He was there all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, political people look at him as a one-term president. But how will the people who he built homes for look at him?
Thank you. Habitat for Humanity.
How will his daughter that looked at a man and showed her how a man should love a woman or somebody or love her? I think that your legacy and how you treat people is what will be remembered. We haven't talked one thing about his politics. I don't know really any policies that come to mind, and I don't care to, Jeff. I just really look at this as a guy that did it right and did it his own way and did it, you know, and he stuck to his morals. He was proud and stuck to his faith. And for all the lip service we get from our politicians now that, you know, can't wait to, you know, hold up a Bible, and he walked the walk, and I respect that so much. What a life well lived. We should all be so lucky.
Yeah. What do you think?
You got a little choked up.
Yeah. Seeing people age, Jimmy Carter has always been like the man of health. Like you've seen him at 70 and like 80s doing Habitat for Humanity. And seeing him age is sort of similar to seeing our parents age and what's gonna happen. But I don't know, for him to have rolled in that place, knowing that he looks different amongst the highest of people in all of the world. I mean, you have all the first ladies there, all their husbands except for Mr. Trump. For him to have been there is so, to me, incredibly special to say, I'm going to leave hospice to say goodbye and leave her to rest. Just so you guys know, they're the nation's longest married presidential couple. They were married for 77 years. She lobbied for the Equal Rights Amendment. They both received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and she is survived by 4 children, 11 grandchildren, and a sister. Wow. So that is the way you live your life.
Well done.
Unbelievable. There were a very number of high guests, as I was saying, at the memorial as well, including President Biden and First Lady Jill, Bill and Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, and Melania Trump. Lots of people were commenting how nice it was that all the living First Ladies were in attendance. It was lovely to see that. But some called out Melania for being the only one not wearing black. What do we think? Is this a nothing burger that we're just calling out Melania, Jeff?
Maybe.
Are we eating this nothing
I
burger?
didn't know until I saw that picture. I was like, that didn't look
Here's my thing.
Let's see that picture too as Jeff speaks.
Barack Obama wasn't there either.
You're absolutely right.
That was in my ear. I'm not saying that to
You're absolutely
point out
right. I should have said that. I didn't realize that.
And here's my thing, man. If Michelle Obama wore that, we'd say, wow, she looks really sleek and fantastic.
I don't know.
But here's my point of view. I wear black to a wedding. Yeah. Or, I'm sorry, to a funeral.
Or a wedding you don't believe in.
Actually, Italians, Italians all wear black to weddings.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, do they?
If you don't know what to wear to an Italian wedding, put on a black dress and go have.
You wear black in Italian? I didn't know that.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah. Jordan, we go back home to weddings. She's like, what do I wear? I'm like, put a black dress on and be quiet over there. Don't get in any fights with these Italian women. That's what I tell her.
Oh,
yeah, so
my
you wear black
God.
to either one.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But like you said, you're
so
speaking
here's
the
my thing.
tradition.
That's fine. If you want to call her out, that's fine. I wear black to funerals. If you want to call her out, that's perfectly fine too.
But it wasn't it didn't raise your blood pressure.
No.
Do you know
it
what
did
it is?
now? Yeah.
You know what it is, Jeff?
Go ahead.
It's not the end of the world. It's just not a good look.
No.
And that's all it is.
And she knows it will
and
be
sometimes,
spoken
like, I
about.
think we need to have she's the worst person or the best person, you're attacking her or you love her. It's just not a good look. It's just like if you wore something that was overly, revealing to a 6-year-old's birthday. It's not the end of the world. We're not going to kick you out. It's not a good look.
Totally.
So it's not a good look.
And we all know she would have been photographed, publicized. We'd all be talking about it the next day.
Right.
She could have easily just worn a chic black dress. And
I
no one
wonder
would
if
have
that
said
was a choice.
That's what I'm telling you. It was. She is a.
Oh, thanks.
No, I'm saying as a model, clothes are the way she speaks. Remember, I don't really care, do you?
I remember
She
that.
talks in clothing, and that was like, why not just put on a chic black dress and no one would have said anything? It was a statement, and I don't really get it, but I'm not mad about it. Whatever. Okay. Speaking of first ladies, Jill Biden unveiled the White House Christmas decorations earlier this week, and they included 98 Christmas trees, more than 142,000 twinkling lights, and nearly 34,000 ornaments. She hoped it will inspire visitors to embrace their inner child and the magic, wonder, and joy of the season. We also want to put up what Melania put up when she was First Lady. This was her choice, which are a little starker, the red trees. She also had a whole room of white trees. More modern, more minimalist. Not saying they're bad, but do we have a favorite? What do you guys think? One's more for children, I would say, which is very Dr. Jill Biden.
Right. I think the Melania one, it kind of reminded me of like a Tim Burton film or something. It looked very like kind of with the stark colors. Secretly, I kind of like that one better. But for kids,
right?
Obviously, the first one's the way to go. That's very FAO Schwartz.
Yeah, it's so funny.
I know.
This whole thing.
I know.
It's like,
It feels
what
a little-
about,
it's just like even Christmas decorations, you have to pick a
Yeah, I
Democrat or
know.
a Republican
I know.
for Christmas decorations.
I crossed the aisle.
Man,
bipartisan.
you're going to get some hate mail for that, Al. How dare you pick a Christmas
Are you doing
decoration?
Christmas lights this year? Going?
Dude, they were up a month ago.
But are you going ham?
No, I go turkey, venison.
Little venison.
I don't stuff it, just some good turkey with some sides.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. You know what's interesting is I was allowed to attend the George H.W. Bush Christmas White House. Both asleep. Again, the White House. I was able to go to the Christmas White House.
The turkey?
Okay, coming up on DBL, with smoking still being a leading cause of death, my self-esteem here is terrible. Should America be doing more to create a smoke-free generation? And our interview with Morgan Fairchild, she talked to us about her role in the new movie Ladies of the 80s, A Diva's Christmas. Oh, look. Huge fan.
Yeah, Jeff, I was asking you about your lights. I'm like, I went crazy on Temu site.
Dude, so I got some stuff from there too.
What'd you get? I bought a lot of
Okay, so
I got something this morning.
if you guys don't know what Temu is, it's an app or website that you can get things at a discount price, but they come in like 2 weeks. Everyone talks about it around here. So I finally went on. Leighton was like looking at his phone. He goes, "Dad, can we get these?" And there's little things that you put around like your, the lights that you have in your living room or something. And they're little Santas that climb up a chain. And they were like $7.50 each. So I got 2 of those, one for each kid.
Yeah.
Then I got this Santa that's like plastic that you hang. It looks like it's hanging from your roof. That was like $11. And then I think I got like chair backs. We have 6 chairs in our living room, and it's like chair backs that look like wrapped presents.
Oh, shut up.
And those were like all together like another $12.
Bro,
So I spent like $40 and I got all this stuff. I didn't get it yet, but it was the first time.
I went crazy on Temu, and what Ebony first told me about Temu.
Yeah, you did. I think you told me too.
Do you know what Temu is? It's really Alibaba, which is kind of like the wholesaler for Europe and Asia.
Yeah,
so like if you want to buy things in bulk, like if you have a restaurant and you want to buy 50,000 napkins, you would go to Alibaba.
Yes.
But they would send you a sample first to be like, do you like this napkin?
What's your family?
Temu is just the sample. So yeah, so that's why it's like 29
It's super
cents.
cheap. I'm waiting to see the quality of this stuff. So
No, I mean, I got, look, I bought Christmas lights, I bought clothes, I bought a bag, I bought so much, because it was so cheap, I was like, even if it doesn't work, it's like, I spent like $108, and I bought so much stuff.
did you get it yet?
Yes, and
it's good?
Dude.
Welcome back to DBL. Believe it or not, smoking is still the leading cause of preventable death in America. So here's a question. Are we doing enough to change it? Okay. Well, over in France, they're banning smoking now on beaches, public parks. They're trying to prevent those tobacco-related deaths. Here in America, there is some talk about trying to ban menthol cigarettes nationally, and 2 states already have. So DBL Nation, we want to hear from you. Should we be doing more to create a smoke-free generation coming up? Yes? No? Go to dblvote.com. Would love to hear from all of you. Just so you know, in 2023, the poll by Gallup, smoking among U.S. adults nears a historical low. Only 12% of the United States adults smoke cigarettes. That's a huge drop from about 22% from earlier.
Well,
what do we think, yay?
I think just the numbers and the death that it causes, and people realizing, seeing their parents die from it and loved ones die, and like attributing it directly to smoking itself, right? So I think people are smartening up, but you would think the government would be able to control this. Again, this is a freedom of speech and, you know,
expression.
Yep. Yeah, I could do whatever I want. This is America. But if the government cared so much about us, like giving us tickets to not wear seatbelts, do you care about me, or are you trying to make money for the state? Are you trying to make money for the country by producing tobacco and not worrying about if people die? But then it dips into our healthcare system. We're paying for people who choose their freedoms, that ignore the signs, that now we have to pay for their medical bills. So again, once again, it lands in government's hands, and it's about money. That's what I feel like.
Well said and absolutely true. It is about money, and it's something that we never want to talk about. And it's a lot of the, air quotes, dark money that is in this country, and that's the money that's not made 9 to 5, but it's the money that flows through strip clubs and people that go to bars and all these kinds of things that are considered, you know, not taboo, but what's that word? I don't know. Vice.
Vices.
You know, and all that creates a lot of money too. Gambling, as sports gambling is everywhere.
How much money?
So,
yeah.
I mean, how many families is that going to destroy? When you see a casino, do you ever see them getting torn down, or do you see a new building being built? What is that from?
No state
taxes. That's
taxes
from the people in that area losing their savings. So let's be honest here. When we start talking about cigarettes or anything else, the government does have a decision. Do we ban this completely, let it go underground, and let it become an illegal operation, like gambling, like drugs?
Black market, for sure.
Or do we bring it above ground and tax it and try and regulate it? Either way, it's not going to be great, but either way, people are going to do it. People have been gambling since the beginning of time. People have been drinking and smoking since the beginning of time. It's not going to stop. So the question is, how is your government going to handle it?
Okay, well, certain states are taking actions. 28 states have enacted comprehensive smoke-free laws covering workplace, restaurants, bars. Here's my question. Do you have a problem? And I'm not saying I do or not, but I'm asking you and you out there while you're voting. No, well, I'm the moderator. Do you, I don't have to say anything. Do you feel the government should have a say in something that you are able to choose to do by yourself as an adult? Does that feel like government encroaching on your freedom to do what you would like to do, even if it means it hurts your body?
Kind of just made that point.
Well, do you think that it should?
What's your point of view?
I think they should. It's the same way that, like, you can't climb up to the Empire State Building with a parachute and jump off. Because when you get hung up there, we have to send government people to come get your goofy self down. It's like when you want to ride on a motorcycle with no helmet, saying government stay out of my business. When you wreck and now you can't work anymore, the government's got to take care of your 4 kids. So unless you're doing something where the government doesn't have to pay for it after you mess it up, then I'm fine with it. it. But when you're going to ask your tax dollars and my tax dollars to take care of your kids or your 40 years of lung treatments that you need, then I have a problem with it. So yeah, the government does have a say since we're going to be paying for all this. It's all freedom when you're having fun until you're on the side of the highway and we need to send state patrol,
FEMA.
ambulance, occupational therapy. Now it's where's my government? So come on, dog.
Interesting. Come on, dog. Let's take a look at what this says. Should we be doing more to create a smoke-free generation? 86% of you say yes. 14% of you say no. I guarantee you 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that would have been an absolutely different number. Interesting. Coming up on DBL, our interview with Morgan Fairchild. She reminisced with us on what it was like to work with the late Matthew Perry.
From coast to coast, states across the country are seeing multiple cases of a mysterious respiratory illness found in dogs. But what about cases in the Lone Star State? It's a question pet owners need answered. So let's verify. Has the respiratory illness in dogs hit Texas? Our source is Jessica Fisher, who is a certified professional canine nutritionist. 6 News also reached out to several dog clinics. They all confirmed there have been no cases in Central Texas yet, but that doesn't mean your pet is off the hook.
We're very likely to see it. I just don't think it is spreading as quickly as a lot of people are suggesting.
Fisher says it's been around for about a year now.
We originally thought it was a virus. It now appears to be a bacteria that we previously did not know of.
While there are still lots of unknowns, there are things you can look out for.
Your dog is going to be lethargic, maybe a loss of appetite, and then a cough is going to start. But different from a kennel cough, this cough is wet. It can lead into pneumonia, which leads into stays at the ICU vet, the ER vet that can be very, very expensive. And sadly, a few dogs have lost their lives.
Experts recommend avoiding large groups of dogs because it can be easily transmitted.
If we can avoid dog parks, we can avoid boarding your animal.
Most importantly, Fisher says you must take care of your dog's gut health.
If we can get our dogs on a balanced fresh food diet, if we can onboard probiotics now ahead of time, their bodies are going to be in much better shape to be able to handle anything that comes their way.
So we can verify no, there are no reported cases in Central Texas yet, but it's important to take precautions now before it's too late. For 6 News, I'm Sydney Deshawn.
Welcome back. She's been a shining star and her roles are unforgettable. Now Morgan Fairchild's star power is lighting up the holidays. Earlier, we caught up with her. Take a look.
5 legendary divas.
If she's doing the show, I'm not.
Together at last.
Ass on your facelifts, ladies. It's gonna be a bumpy weekend.
Yes, please welcome to DBL, Morgan Fairchild.
Thank you.
Your new Lifetime movie, Ladies of the 80s, A Diva's Christmas. I have to ask you, what are you most thankful for this holiday season?
You know, I'm very, very thankful for a lot of things this year. Unfortunately, my fiance passed away in July.
Oh, sorry.
And he had Parkinson's, but actually died of long COVID from heart attacks. And I had just finished this movie the week before. I'm very grateful that we got the movie in before the strike. And then I had a play to go to out of town, which got me out of town. And I was working through the strike, unlike many of my friends, and distracted from what I was going through. And then Paul Rubens died, and Suzanne Summers died, and then Matthew Perry died. So it's been a weird year. Yeah. And I've been very, very grateful and say a prayer every day to God. Thank you for the work. Thank you for keeping me going and keeping me healthy. Thank you for everything you have given me, because I'm still here.
Yeah.
and hanging in.
Yeah. When you're surrounded by a lot of loss, sometimes you can be even more grateful for your aliveness, which is amazing.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, your co-star Linda Gray was on our show last week, and she mentioned that female actors of a certain age get fewer opportunities to work. And I wondered, have you ever experienced ageism?
Oh, certainly. I think every woman in Hollywood has. I mean, if you're over 25, there's a certain amount of age. I mean, it's very funny when you see these guys who are 60 with girlfriends on screen who are 25. So But there is a certain amount of ageism. Yeah, there always has been in the business. And even though, people have become aware of it and there's a lot more going on with the unions and with things trying to make sure that it's minimized, it's still always there. And it even starts early. I remember one of my first big miniseries, I was doing a thing based on a Harold Robbins miniseries called The Dream Merchants, which he did the Carpetbaggers and all of those. And this was the early days of Hollywood from 1912 to 1928. And I was playing the Joan Crawford character, but I have to age from 1912 to 1928. And I was 28 years old at the time. And fortunately for me, the producers, just as I was leaving the room, having gone through a couple of auditions and given the job, told I had the job, and those days they did that, somebody said, "How old are you?" And I said, 28. And suddenly they said, "Oh, you may be too old to play the younger part."
Wow.
So I just, fortunately, they said that while I was still in the room. I said, "Honey, was I too old 5 minutes ago?"
Yes, Fairchild. Check.
You liked what I was doing then.
Yes. I love what you're doing now.
I just have to give it back to them,
Thank you.
But I was fortunate I was in the position to hear them say that before they decided not to cast me.
Thanks for you.
Because I was too old at 28.
Good Lord.
Yeah, we should have followed that up with, but this face card does not decline, okay?
What?
Your face
The what
card does
doesn't?
not decline. The face card,
Oh,
child.
thank you. Thank you, honey. I'll work at it.
So
These old glamour girls, we hang in. We're old broads hanging on by the skin of our teeth.
I love her.
That's awesome.
well, you mentioned that you had, this has been a season of loss. I just want to know what you remember about Matthew Perry.
I always flash back to that first day on the set when I was on. The show had not been on that long, and it wasn't a big hit yet. I was the first celebrity they brought on to have a part on it. And when I took the part, I just remember Cicely Tyson had called me and said, "You're too young to play that guy's mother. He's a grown man." And I'd been playing teenagers, and I said, "Cicely, at some point we all have to make this transition to playing older ladies." And I'd seen the show. I thought it was good. Hey, I was right. But the first day on the set, Matthew comes running over to me, as only Matthew could. This very tall, kind of gangly and very happy puppy dog comes bounding over to me and says, "Oh, you won't remember me, but I used to hang out on the Flamingo Road and Falcon Crest sets with my dad." And I said, "Who's your dad?" And he said, "John Bennett Perry." And I said, "Oh my God, you're John's son. You're that little kid that was on our set." And I didn't realize. And then I thought, well, I guess I am old enough to play this kid's mother.
DBL Nation, you can see Morgan and Ladies of the 80s at Diva's Christmas on December 2nd on Lifetime.
Thanks.
Yeah. Awesome.
This is actually one of the text messages I received. It claims to be from USPS. And let's get a closer look at it. It says a package arrived at the warehouse but could not be delivered. It then asked me to click on the link and fill out the rest of my address. Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. And there's a few reasons why I could tell that this was a scam. To get help with the facts here, we have Tom Bartholomew, president of the Better Business Bureau and the United States Postal Inspection Service. Okay, so first, the United States Postal Service tells us USPS will not send customers text messages or emails without a customer first requesting the service with a tracking number, and it will not contain a link. Bartholomew adds, with the holiday season in full swing, scammers are trying to take advantage, and if you click on the link, that's where they will try to get more information.
And then they just keep on asking you questions. Another pop-up comes up. Well, what credit card did you use? And unfortunately, people are still answering these questions.
Here's a way you can spot that this is a scam. If you take a look at where it came from, it's not a number, but a random Hotmail address. Instead of trusting the random text, go to the source itself.
If you think it might be real, go directly to the site that you bought it from, check the order that way.
So Bartholomew says these scams are becoming more common, especially with people buying gifts online and taking advantage of those Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals. So before you fall for this, take a breath, look at who or where it's coming from, and navigate to the site where you bought the gift to clarify the status of your package. With your Verify Fact Check, I'm Megan Bragg.
The latest iOS 17 iPhone software update includes a new feature called Name Drop. It allows people to more easily share contact information by holding their phones near one another. Multiple law enforcement agencies nationwide have posted warnings like these, advising iPhone users to disable the new feature to avoid automatically exposing their personal information to potential bad actors.
I don't want anybody touching their phone to my phone or my kids' phones and getting information.
So let's verify. Does Apple's name drop feature automatically share your contact information with other nearby iPhone users? We reached out to these sources and conducted our own tests to verify. Here's what we learned.
You can quickly share your contact info with others using name drop.
Both iPhones must be unlocked and within a few centimeters of each other in order to use the name drop feature. Once a connection is established, your phone will vibrate and glow. Then you'll get a prompt to share either your phone number or email address. You can also choose to only receive contact information without sharing your own. But unlike viral posts claim, no information is shared without you clicking one of those options. According to Charlotte Hooper with the Cyber Helpline, the name drop feature simplifies sharing contact details, but still provides you with the final say in if information is shared. And the Bangor, Maine Police Department agrees. So we can verify, no. Apple's name drop feature does not automatically share your contact information with other nearby iPhone users, despite the warnings you may be seeing on social media. Name drop is automatically enabled when you update to iOS 17.1. If you want to disable it, just open up Settings, tap General, then tap AirDrop and turn off Bringing Devices Together. With your Verify, I'm Ariande Till.
Welcome back. If you're planning on remodeling a bathroom in your house, be sure to avoid some common mistakes. You ready? We're talking about it in today's tip, sponsored by Jacuzzi. First, it's important to have your budget set. Missing this step can cost you a lot. Next, prioritize proper ventilation. Vents can make your bathroom vulnerable to mold. Finally, plan ahead. It may seem simple, but not paying attention to layout can cause issues in the end. If you want to start your remodel, Jacuzzi can help you do it the right way with a spa-like experience. Jacuzzi offers an unmatched, stress-free remodeling process. Visit jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 1-800-990-6834. Now, before we go, we got a viral video of a police chase in Ann Arbor, Michigan, my alma mater, Go Blue. A 12-year-old boy was arrested for allegedly stealing a forklift.
You'd be proud of this one.
I know, I shouldn't have said that. From a middle school and leading cops on a chase throughout the town for about an hour and a half. He hit speeds between 15 and 20 miles per hour. He hit about 10 parked cars and a street sign. No one was hurt. Police said the keys were hidden in the cab in the forklift. Why not move up the chase a little bit? You know what?
Yeah,
Stop it.
I mean, because I'm glad we're doing this at the end of the show, which means that no one got killed or anything like
No one
this.
got
But
hurt.
like, that's a real serious thing. I
Yeah.
mean, that thing was moving cars out of the way. So
Yes.
come on, guys, put the keys in the maintenance room or something.
There you go. We'll see you tomorrow.